Welcome. This is Impress Labs B2B Marketing Minute, which takes more than a minute. I'm Steve Farnsworth. I am here with Martijn Pierik, Managing Partner for Impress Labs, a B2B corporate communications and marketing communications agency. Welcome, Martijn.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to talk about something we've chatted about before, you and I personally, but kind of you're in an interesting spot. The agency has a lot of folks. I know that you take a personal interest in helping develop talent. And so I really want to talk about the changing skills of kind of rockstar B2B marketers and kind of what they need to know and what they need to take care of this day today. And so I think kind of starting off, let's set the stage. How's the nature of communications and marketing campaigns changed in the last 5 or 10 years?
It's changed a lot, Steve. I mean, I've been in this business for almost 20 years, and actually with Impress for about 10 years now. And you know, running an agency the last 10 years has made me very well aware of all the changes that have happened. And I can tell you, one of the things that is really remarkable is the influence of social media and how it's really changed the shift from very campaign-driven type of marketing activities to a lot more agile, responsive type of activities. Not to say that marketing campaigns do not exist, specifically in our type of B2B space. There's a lot of product level marketing where campaigns are continuously driven, but they kind of run below the surface somewhat, or at least they are part of a bigger piece of a company's total image and brand out there. We're traditionally looking, for instance, specifically on this PR side, to let journalists tell our stories, and that's really changed a lot too. Companies have become their own publishers. A good friend of ours, and you know him well, Tom Foremski, started with every company is a media company, and it really is true. Everybody has become a media company and has the responsibility to communicate to their audiences. What we see is that 10 years ago and before that, the response to a marketing activity, negative, positive, or neutral, had somewhat of a lag from the larger public, and only a certain level of larger public had actually the opportunity to properly, respond and be actively participating in that communication process. With Facebook, Twitter, other social media channels, we can just see that every consumer has a voice. And if a consumer has something interesting to say, even if it's just that one single consumer, the world is listening and it gets spread quickly. So what that has done is not only has it changed the nature of how proactive we need to be and how reactive we need to be at the same time, it also has changed the responsibility, the corporate social responsibility side of marketing. It's always been there, but it's always been something that was very controllable and very under the radar for a lot of companies. And some do like to, tout themselves on being very good citizens. But now it's actually become part of your brand. It really is what your brand is all about. And consumers, and even in the B2B space, because we are all consumers, business is done person to person. It's not done in magazines or in advertisements. It is person to person. So the entire world is listening at all time. And so if we don't make sure that we're constantly aware of what we say and how we say it and how we treat our customers, we're going to be held accountable for that. And I think that's one of the key drivers of how we need to be looking at PR and marketing at the moment.
Well, so when you talk a lot of times, so there's a couple really fine distinctions in there. When people talk, there's real-time marketing is responding in real time, but also real-time is also getting away from campaigns or seeing things just as campaigns and as ongoing programs that you're managing and testing. Talk a little bit about that.
I'm not entirely sure if I fully understand your question, Steve.
Well, it's not just campaign based anymore. We need to look at marketing as there are campaigns, but there are also systems that you have to put in place as part of communications.
Well, so getting back to what I said specifically on the real-time communication side of things, right? The systems you have to have in place is basically being prepared to respond quickly to opportunities, because there's opportunities for any company to market themselves every day, and the outside world hands you these opportunities. Often there is little things that happen that, that trigger a social media frenzy and all of a sudden start trending really heavily, right? And companies are involved in that, and the way they handle that and the way they respond and the way they react is very much how they will be perceived and how they are helping build their brand. Airlines are one of those types of companies that are constantly under pressure, right? Because their customers are extremely critical. But even if negative or not so positive things happen, the way they handle themselves and the way their social media and digital marketing teams are prepared to jump in at any point in time says a lot about how these companies are handling their marketing and how much effort they put into it. So I think that speaks to, to how well you need to prepare and have systems in place to do on-the-fly marketing.
So one of the things that always surprises me is, like, when I talk, you meet with clients and people who are running a business may not fully grasp kind of the major shifts that have taken place. But I'm always surprised that when, like, if somebody has a website that's not responsive, so websites are designed to be able to deal with mobile. I've come across people who say, mobile's not, we're different, we're B2B, we don't really have mobile. And I'll go, well, let me show you some of your Google Analytics. And they're constantly stunned about how much is consumed on their website in mobile. So how is it for communicators now? What do they need to understand about mobile? How do they need to react to mobile?
Well, they need to understand that, and I think the statistics are well over 50% now in terms of how much content is consumed on mobile devices, right? And so if you look at 50% of your audience is not being served right, again, it comes back to, I called it corporate social responsibility early, but there's other aspects to it that work the same way. It's about being responsible for caring about your audiences, caring about your publics, right? So if you don't provide your key customers or your key audiences with the right tools to communicate the way they like to communicate, not the way you like to communicate, then you are not listening to your customers, and once again, you are not doing your job. So yes, it is important for companies to have good mobile-friendly sites, or actually, really, responsive design that can respond to any kind of digital or mobile device. And in the B2B space, we run into this a lot, right? And, a lot of our clients work in the semiconductor space, for instance, and some of these companies, they sell $1 million tools. They don't care about, the day-to-day consumer electronics, talk. But these companies also have responsibility to their employees. From a recruitment perspective, I think it's really important. There's so many different other audiences. Your investors, your future leaders, right? The future leaders and the leaders at your customers. These people all use digital tools to communicate. They use mobile tools to communicate. And if you don't adapt to that, you don't realize that is an important part of it, then you are being too self-centered. You're not looking at what the needs of your audiences are. And we as marketers, we don't look at what we want to say. We look at what does our audience want to hear. And so, the technical side of that needs to be ready for that. And then, of course, you need to have the content and the messages behind it.
I so agree to that. I think what's really, and it's the conversation about, should your website be responsible or should your content be mobile friendly? I'm always a little surprised when I have that conversation with really smart people, and they don't quite get it. But the reality is that, any time, unless you're selling something that nobody does any research on, which is, most B2B stuff, when someone buys a product B2B, you're spending tens, hundreds, or millions of dollars on something. And that's literally somebody's job. And they're going to go online and they're going to research it. Mm-hmm. And 50% of people use smartphones. I mean, 50% of all internet access is through smartphones or mobile devices to consume content. And they're going to do research. And it's like people somehow still think like, no, none of my people are using mobile. And it's like, well, first of all, they are, and all the data supports it. It's just a fact. And the other part is like, why would you waste the opportunity to be able to put your content in somebody's pocket that they can consume it anywhere, anytime that they want to do on a smart device? And it's just like,
it shouldn't be a question, right?
Yeah, and it's always amazing.
Shouldn't be is not the question. Is how much am I going to invest in mobile? That should be the question. You know, a good example. I was talking to one of the industry publications in our tech world, and they were inquiring with us about us helping them do a better website. Their website was pretty archaic, was not mobile friendly. All their content was PDF'd. You know, it was user unfriendly. But their print is they're still running a full-size print edition, right? And I was really trying to tell them this same story. This is the people you need to care about, and more than 50% consume content mobilely. So why would you not want to do that? And they said, well, no, you know, we get, you know, when we're at shows or when we get one-to-one contact, we always get CEOs coming to us about how they love that we still have a print, and they really love print, and they want to hold on to it. And I said to you, so have you ever actually tested this? Because people that come to you with these remarks are the people that are seeing print die, and they appreciate the few that are still left there. But that's not a good sample size of what you're here. These are just the people that are coming to you with compliments. Those people that are coming to you or that are not happy about your mobile unfriendly will not come to you and ask for that. They will just go somewhere else. And so instead of taking the positive feedback as thinking we're doing the right thing, they should have thought about, okay, so what can we do to make it better, and how can we address the needs of the rest of those audiences, right? Mm-hmm. And again, it's not a question of should we or should we not. It's a question of how much should we invest in mobile.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Just in your own mind, what are some, I mean, because part of what you're addressing is like people's own head trash or the things that they kind of blind themselves. What are some of the other things you see amongst, I mean, and it's like, you know, being in technology, we have the privilege of working with some really, really smart people, but they did not necessarily know a lot about marketing, because that's not what, you know, we do that. That's our day job. You know, that's what we do for a living. What are some of the other kind of, do you think there's some of the blinders that C-level management may have about where marketing's going that they should really kind of step back and update their understanding?
Yeah, well, there's blinders, and then there's just the not understanding it, right? I'm sitting in front of CEOs on a regular basis, and half of them don't even know what a Twitter account is or how it works or how to use it. And so because they don't use it, and only their 8-year-old kid uses it, they think it's kids play. They don't realize that it's serious. They don't actually are in touch with the rest of their company and their employees. I think if they truly believe that those are just, you know, fads. You know, we've come a long way from Facebook and Twitter being a fad. What they're not seeing is the fact that marketing needs to continuously evolve, as does your products. Where these companies are technology companies, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year in R&D, and they're so aware that technology needs to evolve from that perspective. They make, you know, my clients make the chips and make the equipment that makes our iPhones work, yet they don't understand that we need to invest in the tools that, you know, that operate on these devices and that everyone in our world uses on a daily basis, right? So, you know, the other blinders that I often, almost all the time hear is, well, we know all our customers, why would we need to, right? And, you know, you've been there, Steve,
that's why I'm laughing. It's just such a classic line.
Yeah, it's well, it's again, it's, you know, sticking your head in the sand is that ostrich politics that you know, many times I decide to just walk away from those types of opportunities because I'm not here to convince people they need marketing. I'm here to help people do marketing right. If I need to convince someone that they need to spend money on marketing, they're probably not ready for it yet. Fortunately, their companies are going to take the hit, and at some point are going to see that they fell behind. But you know, we're professional marketers. We need to work with people that want to bring us in to help them do things better. not to tell them what they should be doing, even though they don't believe in it.
Amen, brother. I so agree to that. And it's not an arrogant point of view, but it's like, you know, I think as consultants, a part of, you know, as the consultative nature of our jobs, we should help educate our clients, but they need to be wanting to have a conversation with us and move it to the next level, as opposed to kicking and screaming just to do the most basic things.
Right. You know, I wouldn't walk away from it without having that conversation with anyone. But you'll quickly notice if they're on board with it, or if they're just, you know, nodding and trying to kind of get out of the conversation. And you know, as a consultant in the marketing field, but in any field, as a consultant, you and your client need to have a mutually beneficial and profitable relationship, right? If I have to convince my client continuously that what I do for him and the bill I send him actually brought him value, I'm not enjoying my job either. And I love doing what I do, and there's plenty of companies that do want to work with me. So, you know, we choose to sometimes tell them, maybe you should, you know, wait a little bit until you're ready for it.
I have to believe that that's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So that's the kind way of saying it, but you understand what I say.
Yeah, I have to believe that, you know, that when you say that, though, it probably puts people back on the heels a little bit. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean I'm not ready for this yet? Which is probably the right reaction they should be having. You know.
You know, we charge a lot of money for doing a lot of good things, and I want to make sure that they're happy with it. It's that simple. I'm a service organization, right? And service is there to, you know, to take something out of someone's hands that they don't know how to do. But, you know, if you don't believe that, you know, that a dentist can help you, you're not going to go to a dentist, right? And then at some point you're going to get a toothache, and you'll go back and you say, oh, I realized that I really did need that dentist. If I about going on dental on a regular basis, I wouldn't get here.
Right, and eventually they're going to find out, yeah, they needed a dentist. Because hopefully there's still time to save the teeth, right?
And marketing is the same thing. You know, you get that same, at some point you're going to get that same toothache in marketing as well. If your competitors all of a sudden start kicking your ass, you know, in social media, and you start seeing that, you know, the perception of your brand is being affected by others, maybe, you know, sometimes hard-learned lessons are the best way to actually become true fans and believers, right?
Yeah, sometimes those hard-learned lessons are really expensive, though.
Well, right, of course.
Anyway, I think that's perfect for bringing us a good stopping place for this installment of the B2B Marketing Minute. Thank you so much, Martin, for your time, and I look forward to talking with you next time.
My pleasure, Steve. Talk to you soon.